How good are your ears? Can you hear and do you know the difference between different types of microphones? We have 10 different microphone recordings that we'll listen to blind. Carefully note the tonal characteristics that you hear, and then we'll reveal the identity of each microphone at the end. I spent some time earlier today to record my voice on 10 different microphones in a vocal booth. Bob and Steven will listen to these recordings and note what they hear. Please play along and make your own notes. The point of this exercise is not to choose the better microphone, but rather to test and train your ears to hear the differences between different types of microphones and to describe what you hear. I'm not going to tell you what the different microphones are before the test, so it's completely blind. That way, you won't be trying to identify specific microphones based on what you think they sound like or how much they cost. There will be 10 different recordings labeled A through J, so go ahead and make your list. Got it? Okay. Get your nice headphones on because that's the best way to participate in this test. Pause this video if you need to. We'll also post the original high-resolution audio files on our website. Check the description for the link. Here we go. Ready, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yep. This is a test of Mystery Microphone A at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone A at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone A. This is a test of Mystery Microphone B at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone B at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone B. This is a test of Mystery Microphone C at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone C at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone C. This is a test of Mystery Microphone D at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone D at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone D. This is a test of Mystery Microphone E at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone E at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone E. This is a test of Mystery Microphone F at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone F at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone F. This is a test of Mystery Microphone G at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone G at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone G. This is a test of Mystery Microphone H at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone H at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone H. This is a test of Mystery Microphone I at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone I at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone I. This is a test of Mystery Microphone J at 6 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This is a test of Mystery Microphone J at 3 inches. She sells seashells by the seashore. The shells she sells are surely seashells, so if she sells shells on the seashore, I'm sure she sells seashore shells. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Did Peter Piper pick a peck of pickled peppers? If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked? This concludes the test of Mystery Microphone J.
You cheated.
I cheated? What do you mean?
There's a duplicate in there.
Well, we'll see.
I'd like to also pick a worst.
Oh, worst? Okay. Is that going to be hard for you?
So
it's
the
not
worst
hard
is
for
not
me.
hard. The worst is not hard. The favorite is actually rather tricky. I think I have a favorite.
There's actually two that I think are pretty good because I think two of them are duplicates.
Okay. Well, I'm interested in hearing what you think those are.
There are a couple of them are really close. We'll get into that in a minute.
So I think what we'll do now is I'll have Bob and Steven give their thoughts on the first microphone, and then I'll reveal what it is. I'll provide the make and model as well as the price. And then at the very end, Bob and Steven will tell us what they wrote down as their favorite and least favorite microphones. And you can't change your answers after you find out what they are, okay?
Okay.
All right. And for those of you at home, please also pick your favorite and least favorite microphones at this time. Bob, would you like to go first and tell us what you thought about microphone A?
Microphone A just really didn't have a lot of highs. The highs just seemed to be missing. The lower register may be a little too full, but the highs weren't there, and the mid-range was it was okay. I didn't feel that the upper mid-range really sounded all that good to me. The lower range, the 1,000 hertz and below, was solid, okay, but when you got close to it, it just didn't feel right when you were close to it. I didn't particularly like the sound of the microphone personally.
Okay. And Steven, how about you?
I don't listen as critically as Bob, so my notes are a little more simplistic here. So I said clear, hissy S letters, deeper and closer at 3 inches.
So kind of sibilance.
Yes, the seashells.
With the S's.
Yes, she sells
Yes.
seashells, yeah.
Right. Okay. Are you ready to find out which microphone that is?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
That was the Earthworks SV33 vocal microphone, and it lists for about $23.99.
23.99 or 23.99 point?
$2,399 US dollars.
I wouldn't buy it.
Are you
Okay.
kidding me? $2,399? Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. Right. Well, I had one good thing to say about it, which it was clear, but
Okay.
yeah, but very hissy S letters,
Gotcha.
just distinct.
Okay.
Wow, that's a lot.
No, it's not.
Like, I
Not in microphone land.
okay.
So let's go on and talk about microphone B. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, so B, there seemed to be something in the bottom end of B where it was like table vibrating. It was like it was sitting on a table and vibrating or something like that. Then when you were up close, there was like pops in your voice. So it was popping a little bit. And I just didn't feel it sounded that great. It was okay, but it really didn't thrill me.
Okay. How about you, Steven? What did you think of microphone B?
So I was kind of comparing it with A, and I had brighter, more precise, and then the same remark, deeper, closer at 3 inches. Otherwise, that was it.
Okay. I guess it's time to reveal microphone B. Microphone B was a Behringer ECM 8000, which is typically used as a measurement microphone. It has very flat linear response, but it's really not meant for vocals. I did put the foam windscreen on top of it because I knew that it would probably not do very well with vocals up close.
Yeah.
It wasn't really designed for that, in my opinion. So that's why you still heard some of that popping noise. It's an omnidirectional microphone as well,
Okay.
so that's what microphone B was.
Interesting. The human voice has, these really nice characteristics of, and I know your voice pretty well after all these recordings and talking for over these years, and it was unnatural. And maybe that's because that microphone is so flat.
And that microphone costs $69. So let's go ahead and move on to microphone C. Bob, what were your thoughts on microphone C?
Don't use it. It was thin, thin, thin. And you got up close, it's a little bit better, but it's still bad. And the highs were just weird. It was just like, don't use that microphone, please, Tony.
Okay. How about you, Stephen? What did you think?
So I had very tinny / trebly, better at 3 inches, but still not good.
All right. All fair observations. So let's reveal what microphone C was. Microphone C was a Shure SM63 with a long handle, and it cost around $150.
Is that a vocal mic?
So this microphone is typically used for on-air interviews. So think about a news reporter who would be out in the field, out on the street, and they'd be hand-holding this mic, maybe holding it, pointing it at their mouth, then pointing it at the person that they're interviewing and changing back and forth.
Okay.
So that's why they sell it with a long handle to make it easier to reach. At least that is the target market, I think, for that microphone.
If I had that market, I might select a different mic.
Now, I should mention that the only thing that I did modify was in B. I put the foam windscreen on. I didn't put the foam windscreen on C. I didn't put any pop filters or anything on A or any of the other microphones other than B so far.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and move on to microphone D. Bob, your thoughts?
That one sounded smoother. I mean, it was, a nice thick milkshake. It was good. It didn't stand out anywhere else. There seemed to be more pops when you were up close to it. It seemed to pop a little bit more when you were up close. 6 inches away, okay. Up close, not so good. But yet, overall, it was a smoother microphone.
Okay. Stephen?
I thought it had an odd character for the seashells run. Better at 3 inches, but a very boomy bass.
Ah, okay.
Well, microphone D was the Manley cardioid reference microphone, which costs about $2,999 US. Now, what makes this microphone unique is that it is a tube microphone, vacuum tube microphone. So
interesting.
That could explain for some of the characteristics that you've heard as far as maybe the warmth or the boominess of the low end. And you can probably see it in the picture here, but the grill is very open, right? It's not very dense, so it lets a lot of air through that, and it's got a pretty large capsule there. I would definitely use a pop filter with this microphone. I, again, did not use any pop filters with these microphones because I didn't want to color the sound in any way, but definitely pop filter with this microphone is the way to go.
Okay, and I could see the tube amplifier. I mean, that really nice, smooth sound that could do that. So interesting.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and move on to microphone E. Bob, what were your thoughts?
There was no low end in that mic. Upper mids were overemphasized. It was weird.
Okay. Stephen, what did you think of microphone E?
So I had a bit thin, and then nicer at 3 inches. Actually, very nice at 3 inches.
Yeah, it was better at 3 inches, but I wasn't happy with it.
All right. Well, are you ready?
Yep.
We're really going to hear it from people, but E was the Rode Pod mic.
Our friend.
Oh,
Comments are open below, but this was a totally blind test, and you heard it from Bob and Steven. So, Rode Pod mic, large diaphragm, dynamic microphone, $99. Sounds good when you're up close, but maybe, as Bob, you said, 6 inches away might be a little bit thin compared to some of these other
yeah,
microphones.
you needed to be closer to this one. I agree, but next.
Next microphone F. Bob, what did you think?
I wrote nice. Overall, it sounded more like Tony talking, sounded more real, more like you. 3 inches is too close for that mic. It sounded deep. Not like the big bottom deep, like out of the Rodecaster, but it sounded too deep. And other than that, but like that mic, that was a good sound.
Okay. Steven?
So I had thin, trebly, better at 3 inches, but boomy. And Peter Piper seems oddly muffled. Maybe that was at 3
Okay.
inches.
Well,
that's our first real
let's
disagreement.
Find out.
Maybe.
I know. A little bit of a surprise there. So, microphone F was the Neumann U87 AI, which cost around $3,600. And just in case you're wondering, I had it set to cardioid pattern. It does have several different polar patterns like Omni, Figure 8. It also has a low frequency roll-off or high-pass filter, however you want to call that, but that can help with some of the proximity effect and boominess. So when you enable that high-pass filter, it won't sound as boomy when you get up close to it, and that proximity effect won't be as pronounced.
Okay.
It also has a minus 10 dB pad, so if you're recording a really loud signal source, that can help with not overloading the microphone or really
okay.
the preamp in your recording equipment. So that was the Neumann U87
So that's
AI.
a pretty flexible mic. Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
the most expensive so far. And if you
Correct.
go back to the pictures, it's got the same finer, denser mesh, but it's got the same sort of shape, lollipop, as the Manley. Or is that just, am I mistaken?
Correct. It is a side addressed microphone, which means that you speak into the side of it, not the end. It is, in general, similar design as the
Okay.
Manley. Next microphone G. Bob, what were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was nice. A little more sibilance in that one. The S is just a little bit overdone. And when you got down to 3 inches, it sounded almost nasally to me, but yet it was very clear. It just wasn't quite right when you were up close to it, I guess. So overall, pretty good. Being that little bit further away maybe was better.
Okay. Steven?
So I had nice, crisp, neutral, closer, bassy at 3 inches, less boomy than others.
And microphone G was the Sennheiser MKH60 shotgun microphone.
Really?
This is a longer design, as you can see. Now, these microphone images are not to scale, but it has a long tube, and typically you would mount this either on a video camera. You could also mount this at the end of a boom pole. It does have various switch settings for high frequency boost or low frequency cut. So high frequency boost is typically used when you use a windscreen on it to boost those higher frequencies because you typically lose some of that. It's attenuated when you have a windscreen on there. And the low frequency cut is to cut out wind noise, for example, or rumble if you don't really need that. But I had it in the neutral position, so wanted to give you a feel for that sort of sound from this microphone.
Now, does this work as a shotgun mic? I mean, for further away?
It does have a very tight pickup pattern. It is a very narrow pickup pattern.
Okay.
Actually much tighter than the MKH 416, which is pretty popular shotgun microphone from Sennheiser as well.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Now on to microphone H. Bob, what did you think?
H was smooth. Okay, nice. It was a nice, smooth sounding mic. In some ways, it was even a little bit better close up. Overall, I don't know whether I liked it closer or not. Maybe I did. That was a really good microphone.
So I had clear, neutral, closer at 6 inches, less boomy, more natural.
Let's find out what it was. That was the Shure SM7B, which we've heard quite a bit and actually reviewed and compared to the pod mic. So, as many of you know, it's a large diaphragm dynamic microphone. It does require a lot of gain. Of all the microphones so far, it required the highest amount of gain to get a signal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you on that right now? You're on the SM7B right now, aren't you?
I don't know. What do you think?
Well, let's reveal that at the end.
We'll find out later.
Moving on to microphone I. Bob, your thoughts, please.
Hollow, nasally sounding laptop microphone, like you're out in Starbucks doing a recording or something. Got a little closer, the room echo kind of disappeared, but I did not like that microphone.
Okay. Stephen?
I said super tinny and somewhat far away. Better at 3 inches, but not great.
Let's reveal microphone I. I was the Shure SM93 lavalier microphone. It cost around $78. And we actually used this microphone when we first started recording in the studio. And we all wore this. So if you want to go back and see that video, check out our YouTube channel and you can see us using this microphone in some of those earlier videos.
Interesting.
Now you might be wondering, how did I speak into this microphone? Because it's a lavalier, so it's designed to be worn on your body, right? Not mounted on a stand and speaking directly into it. So what I did was I clipped it onto my collar at about 6 inches away from my mouth. And for the 3-inch test, I placed it on my face about 3 inches back from my mouth, just so you could hear how that sounds. Because again, those microphones, you're not supposed to talk directly into the capsule or the element because that's just not how it's used. Now, you could argue that some of these other microphones are not supposed to be used in this way, like that Behringer measurement microphone, or maybe even that Sennheiser shotgun microphone. But some people do use shotgun microphones in voiceover recordings. The last and final mic, microphone J. Bob, what were your thoughts?
Okay. I wrote down 3 words. Same as H, ?
Same as H. Okay, interesting.
I don't know that it is, but boy, oh boy.
But you thought it was...
Yeah, it was the same as H.
J sounded like H.
Yep, J sounded like H. Very, very close.
How about you, Stephen?
So I had nice, neutral, precise, close at 3 inches, slightly boomy, very plosive P's.
Let's go ahead and reveal microphone J.
Really?
So J was the AKG C414 BULS. It costs around $1,000. This microphone has been discontinued and is no longer sold by AKG, but they do have newer versions of the same microphone. They have digital controls of the polar pattern, as well as the low frequency cutoff or roll off, as well as the signal pad. So you can still buy a new version of this microphone, but I've had this microphone for probably 20 years now. And in fact, this is the microphone that we used on our Rodecaster Pro review. If you haven't checked out that video, that's a great walkthrough of all the features on the Rodecaster Pro, and you can hear more of this microphone in action there. Now, Stephen, I know you commented that this microphone sounded boomy with a lot of plosives. Again, I didn't use any pop filter, but I think that I would definitely use a pop filter with this type of large diaphragm condenser microphone, and that should take care of those plosives. Now that we've revealed all the microphones, what were your thoughts? Do you have a favorite and a least favorite? Bob?
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
start with you. What was your favorite microphone?
F, the Neumann.
F, the Neumann.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one just,
Which happens to be the most expensive of the bunch.
well, that's sad, but it sounded more like you. Simple as that. It sounded more like Tony. And I don't know if it's, the combination of all the electronics or whatever. It sounded more like you. There were two others that I liked. Okay. Didn't know what they were at the time, but it's the one I liked the best.
Okay. How about you, Stephen? What was your favorite?
I actually had a slight toss-up between G, the Sennheiser shotgun, and H, the Shure, but in the end, I landed on the Sennheiser shotgun. I'll just go back and say that I did say very nice at 3 inches for the Rode pod mic. So, so again, if you're,
That
I
you
did.
did.
So, if you're prepared to be assiduously close all the time, that's pretty good. Given I had the toss up between the $1,500 Sennheiser and the $400 Shure, given if it was a toss up, then for $400, the Shure seems like a great bet, at least for my ears.
Happy you bought your Shure SM7B there?
I am very happy, and I thank you for your recommendation.
That's great. So we talked about our favorites of the bunch. What about your least favorite, Bob?
C. But
C.
to a certain extent, when I look over here, both of them just didn't sound right to me. But I still think C was worse.
How about you, Stephen? Your least favorite?
So I had the Shure SM93 lavalier. So super tinny and somewhat far away.
That's what we started with here on our
interesting.
channel. So some of you might be wondering which microphone preamplifier did I use, because that can definitely affect the quality of the sound, and also what audio recording interface I used to record all of these samples. So the preamplifier that I used was the Rupert Neve Designs Portico 2 channel. Now, this is a really nice preamplifier. It also has a lot of other features which I didn't use. I turned all of them off. So the only thing I really used here was the left-hand side, where you can see the mic gain, the phantom power switch, and a trim knob that allows you to boost or subtract 6 dB. I took out all the EQ. I didn't use the high-pass filter. I didn't use the compressor. I didn't use any of the silk circuitry on this unit. I purely used it as a microphone preamplifier. It's a pretty nice unit. I like the way that it does sound with the EQ and the compressor and the silk circuitry. This unit typically retails for around $3,100 US.
Wow,
So,
not cheap.
nice piece of gear.
Not cheap.
Yeah. The audio interface that I use was the RME Audio Fireface 800. Now, that's a pretty old interface, but it does support 24-bit, 192 kilohertz sampling rate. And I did use that to record all of these samples. So if you go to the description, you'll see a link to download the original recordings from our website, and you'll be able to hear it in full high resolution.
Is that a FireWire 800 device?
It is.
That's what I thought.
Believe it or not, and it's still working. I've gotten a lot of life out of that audio interface. That thing's probably...
It's got to be.
At least 10 years
I want
old.
to say it's at least 10, if not closer to 15. Yeah.
Wow.
And, a lot of this audio equipment, like the microphones, the preamplifiers, they last a pretty long time if you take care of it.
Yeah.
And it tends to hold its value pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought this was a pretty interesting test to do completely blind, and I was a bit surprised at some of your reactions to the different microphones. Stephen, did you have any other thoughts overall about what you heard today?
I thought it was very interesting and kind of fun as well. And I was pleasantly surprised that I was able to hear and distinguish quite a difference between the different microphones.
How about you, Bob? Have any thoughts?
I guess I'm not surprised by the differences between the microphones. I was surprised about the microphones I liked a little bit. I was maybe even more surprised about the couple that I disliked. What it tells me is that I really need to hear stuff for a longer period of time. So what I'm going to do later is go back and re-listen to these things again, just to go listen to them again, because it's fascinating to hear the differences. And the one time just one time through listening is typically not enough for me. I feel good about what we did, but I want to go hear more.
I thought it was a fun test as well. We did say we would reveal what microphone I'm using today. Do you guys have any guesses or thoughts on what you think I'm using?
I'm going to guess it's the good old Shure, the $400.
Now, is that based on because that's what I typically use, or that's what you think it sounds like?
I would say it's sort of clean and natural, and that was really my response to the Shure in the blind test.
Okay. How about you, Bob? What microphone do you think I'm using tonight?
Can you put up the visual?
Here are the different microphones. Now, it could be a different one.
It could be something different. I'm not sure it's the SM7B. I'm just not sure of it. It's not the Manley. Boy, I'm not sure. Lately, I always use the SM7B, so I expect it to be that. But I'm gonna bet it's the Neumann.
Is that based on the sound that you hear?
Yes. The more I listen to it now, if I went back and listened to those recordings again, I maybe could do better. But there's something as I'm trying to be quiet and calm and listen here and not break under pressure. There's something different tonight, maybe. I don't know.
Something different tonight.
Maybe.
Well, maybe. What do our viewers think? Let us know in the comments. Be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and ring the bell so you're notified when we reveal what microphone I was using tonight in next week's episode. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Okay, which
Cruel,
mic
but-
is it?
Should I reveal
No.
it?
Cruel but fun. No, I think we should have a whole video.
Not in the least
that
bit
just does
cruel.
the-
Not in the least bit cruel. It's standard television practice. Make you come back
Okay.
for the next episode.